26 goals in 21 matches for Harry Kane, 23 goals in 20 matches for Kylian Mbappé, and 30 goals in 19 matches for Erling Haaland in Manchester City and Norway. It really is impressive right now, but where you see what these three guys are doing and how much further ahead they are than any other striker that we're seeing right now currently in world football. Let's go one by one and talk about how their season has gone. First, for me, Harry Kane, even though Haaland has more goals, for me, Harry Kane has been the best player in the world. And I have seen him not only because of all the goals he's scoring, but how he impacts every game, how he comes down into the midfield. He maybe has slowed down a bit the last couple of matches, and it's still a shocking pace that he's going at. But what he does off the ball and what he does when he's not scoring goals, does that kind of make up for if he has a game or two where he doesn't score?
He's the most complete footballer, I think, in the world right now. And I say that not lightly because of the sheer fact of how many ways he can impact the game. His goal scoring has always been predicated and always been world class, from youth team level all the way through. His ability now to link play and interchange in terms of his teammates. But look at what he's done for Michael Olise's game. Look at what he's done for Lucha Diaz. Jamal Musiala hasn't even entered the fray yet. In terms of the way he elevates his teammates and makes them better, the goals has always been predicated and associated with Harry Kane. But if you really watch his all-round game, he's phenomenal. Like, he really has done this. Never been electrifying, by the way. And as someone who's played against him at youth team, I always say this, he was never the quickest, never was the strongest, but the way that his footballing mind has worked so far in advance, it's an incredible story. And I really want a lot of young footballers to really go and pay attention, and I really mean these words. Go and pay attention to Harry Kane's story, because this is a player that was almost given up twice within his career. Arsenal, of course, released him as well documented when he was a young player. And even further than that, even deeper than that, he was almost sold when he turned 20 in terms of from Spurs to a championship team. Both Leicester and Birmingham were reported at the time. And I always hark back to those moments of, as Kobe would say, right? You have to really lock into who you are. You have to really believe in your Mamba mentality. And watching his game develop year after year, how he's got better year after year, and has worked on the things that have already separated him in terms of his finishing, but then taking it to another level in terms of his overall game. Harry Kane deserves all of his flowers, and I wish this form does continue, man.
We'll put you on the spot. Is he England's best ever striker?
Oh, it's a 1A and 1B. And purely because I remember Wayne Rooney and how good he was for such a consistent period of time. But if you're talking about an out-and-out number 9, phenomenal. And Harry Kane is head and shoulders above anybody that's ever blessed to say that they were English and also blessed to say that they led the line for England. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, I have to agree, just because of everything he does on the pitch, and he just continues to score week in, week out, year in, year out, for England, for his club. And
all it takes is one person to believe in you, you know?
Right.
And Tim Sherwood genuinely went above and beyond to the board and said, if you sell this kid, you're going to regret it. And look at what he's done in terms of the reap of the rewards. All-time Spurs leading goal scorer, all-time England leading goal scorer. And all he's going to do at one point is obviously come back to the Premier League and break that record for his own rights as well. Yeah. It's phenomenal.
And now you have to say that Bayern Munich are one of the, if not the favorites to win the Champions League as well. So that would be something to follow all this season. All right, let's move over to Kylian Mbappé, and a player that has just been obviously leading the line for Real Madrid. He's been incredible. Where do we think that he lands here in this kind of trio of strikers as far as not just his ability, but his impact on his team, club, and country?
He's the best individual player out of the three. As in terms of as an individual magic player by himself, Kylian Mbappé doesn't mind shouldering the responsibility either for Real Madrid or for France. And we have to take it back. He's been back to Monaco, to PSG. This guy is, when you really see his numbers and you look into a real depth, Steph, he's been the embodiment of consistency as well. We're talking about a down year last year of Real Madrid and still scored, what, 40-plus goals? Yeah. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I tell you what he does have. He has the X factor, and I've only ever seen it probably a couple of times in my life, and I put him into this special realm of players of your Zidanes, your Ronaldinhos, and your Henrys, of being able to be so individually gifted that he can make the game look like it's stopped still, like the game has paused for a second, because when he does beat players one-on-one, or he beats you for a burst of speed, or even leaves defenders, bear in mind, every single one of these defenders are prime athletes. There's genuine gaps in between the way that he's leaving players for dead, and that is incredible to see at this level. I would love to have seen in another life he could have been an Olympic sprinter, because his turn of speed, but then his coolness in front of goal, and the calmness in which he's finishing, it's just another level, man.
Is there anything that he can improve on? Is there anything that you look at his game and say, he could probably improve a little bit here? Or is it just really about his teammates kind of trying to keep pace with him and how quickly he moves the ball down the pitch and is able to get in front of goal?
There'll always be elements in which he can improve. I think his link-up play could improve just slightly. Not saying it's bad at all, because I think he does hold the ball up and leads the line quite well for both club and country by himself. But his link-up play could maybe just improve just a touch. But you're talking about really, I would say, scratching at like fine, minute things. And his game is so good because what he does do, what people don't take enough credit for, is he drops into gaps. He drops into gaps in between midfield and defence, which I don't think is always picked up on. And that's why you see him being able to take so many long-range strikes. But then defenders all of a sudden feel like they need to squeeze and pressure him. But then you're playing into his strengths, because then the space is in behind. And he's capitalised and built that perfect balance in between being able to hurt you by facing you up and also being able to hurt you in behind.
Yeah, he uses his athleticism in that spot, right? He finds those spaces, and that's where he uses his athleticism to his advantage, be able to sprint by guys and be able to leave guys in the dust like he has so many times. Speaking of freak athletes, Erling Haaland is another freak athlete, and we move on to our next striker. What this man is doing right now, he's got 30 goals in 19 matches this season. Been really the only one scoring goals for Manchester City, and it's week in, week out. Up, another City game, up, another goal or another brace for Erling Haaland. What this guy is doing right now has to be in the tops of. He's really looking to be have one of the best seasons in Premier League history right now.
First of all, shout out to Joaquin Penashili for being on there.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the year that you're having.
Yes.
I know my fellow Argentine, Nico Cantor, is going to be shouting from the hilltops. Vamos, right? But what I will say, when you're seeing Erling Haaland, you're seeing a generational striker. And when I say a generational striker, I'm talking about the clinical edge of your Inzagis, your clinical edge of Shevchenkos in your past. Just when he goes through on goal, I don't doubt if this is going to be a goal. I actually genuinely just blink and say to myself, are we going back to restart? Because he's that good. But his physical ability matched with his ability and composure in front of goal is something I haven't seen before. We can talk about all of those strikers from a yesteryear, but nobody is built like a tight end like this guy has, with the reps that he puts in, but the consistency in terms of the way he looks after his body. How many games does Erling Haaland miss? Very rarely. Yeah. He's very rarely engaged in the game. And we used to use that as a disadvantage against him, but now you realise it's a real tactical discipline that he wants to impact the game solely in the final third and where he can really showcase his strengths. But I love his game, I love his development, and I also love the fact that he accepts the responsibility for both club and country. I mean, the goals that he scored the other day in terms of I can't even imagine how many goals. How many goals did he score when Norway won by 11 goals?
Yeah,
I think it was 6 or 7.
I think it was 5 or 6, yeah.
It's just ridiculous. You're talking about you don't see those things at club level, at youth level you might see those things, where you're head and shoulders above players that aren't going to make it to the next stage. This guy does it in a Man City shirt, in a national team shirt, at any point, and he really can say and rest his hat on to say, I've accepted the responsibility of being one of the best players for Man City, and I understand it.
I'll say this, though. He has been criticised for maybe not turning up in some of the biggest matches that he's played. Is that fair criticism for him? Is there anything that he should work on in those type of games where the atmosphere is high, where there's something on the line big time for them? He has been criticized. Is it fair?
No, I don't think it's fair. I think if you start circling certain games, I think about the Arsenal game where you're up against arguably the best defence in Europe right now, and you make Gabriel and Saliba commit mistakes that they don't usually do, unforced errors. The consistency he's shown in the Champions League, what more do you want from him? We just spoke about his national team achievements. He's already taken this team, which was, let's say, historically a decent team in terms of their history, and we can talk about the 98 team that did so well, but this team right here is resting their hats on their captain, and they believe that their captain can strike them in a group where they've all of a sudden shown Italy up to be very average all of a sudden. So that tells you in terms of the consistency and how good he is, that as an individual he can lead this line.
Yeah, he has been incredible. It truly has, and it's been very fun to watch him play. He sometimes doesn't look human out there.
Who's your pick?
Of
you have one of the three.
Of those three?
Yeah. You're leading the line. You're a manager going into Saturday.
Mbappé.
I knew